Tommy Morrison's life story is one of triumph, talent, and tragedy. Born in Gravette, Arkansas, on January 2, 1969, Tommy was raised in Delaware County, Oklahoma, and developed his love for fighting at a young age. His mother, of Native American descent, entered him into toughman competitions when he was only 13 using a fake ID. Despite being underage, Morrison dominated these brutal contests, losing only 1 out of 15. Nicknamed the Duke, due to his claim of being a distant relative of Hollywood legend John Wayne, Morrison showed early promise in the ring. His talent in boxing began to shine on a larger stage when he won the Kansas City Golden Gloves heavyweight title in 1988. He also made it to the semifinals of the National Golden Gloves that year. Though his Olympic dreams were dashed after losing to future gold medalist Ray Mercer at the National Olympic Trials, Morrison's amateur career ended with an impressive record of 202 wins and only 20 losses. Turning professional later in 1988, Morrison's explosive left hook and devastating power made him a rising star in the heavyweight division. In 1993, he captured the WBO Heavyweight Championship with a unanimous decision victory over the legendary George Foreman, cementing his place among boxing's elite. However, his reign was short-lived as he lost the title in a shocking upset to Michael Bentt in his second defense. Other notable fights included a brutal loss to Ray Mercer in 1991 and a hard-fought victory against Donovan Ruddock in 1995. Beyond the ring, Morrison also gained fame for his role in the 1990 movie Rocky V, playing Tommy Gunn alongside Sylvester Stallone. But the height of his career was followed by a sudden downfall. In 1996, Morrison tested positive for HIV, forcing him into early retirement from boxing at just 27 years old. His positive test and the circumstances surrounding it shocked the sports world, though Morrison later denied the diagnosis and sought a return to the ring. A brief comeback to boxing occurred from 2007 to 2008 when the Nevada Commission lifted his suspension. Morrison also ventured into mixed martial arts (MMA), securing a first-round knockout over Corey Williams in 2009, which would be his last fight in combat sports. Unfortunately, by 2011, his health deteriorated rapidly. About personal life. Morrison's personal life was as tumultuous and dramatic as his boxing career. In 1996, he found himself married to not one, but 2 women simultaneously, Dawn Freeman and Dawn Gilbert. By the age of 19, Morrison had already become a father, adding another layer of complexity to his fast-paced life. Later in his personal journey, he became engaged to Tricia Morrison in 2009, and the two were married in 2011. His legacy extends through his children, most notably his son, Kenzie Morrison, who followed in his father's footsteps to become a professional boxer. His health struggles, however, became a central narrative in his life. In 1996, after testing positive for HIV, his world turned upside down. Forced into an early retirement, his career and reputation were severely impacted. Yet, he would later claim that the HIV diagnosis was a mistake, asserting in 2006 that the tests had been false positives. This controversial statement reignited public interest in his health, but the Nevada State Athletic Commission stood by their initial 1996 results, calling them ironclad and unequivocal. Morrison, however, claimed he had never seen the original test results, hinting at a possible conspiracy, and even stating, "I don't think it ever existed." Despite this, Morrison tested negative for HIV 4 times in January 2007, a revelation that sent shockwaves through the boxing community. However, skepticism remained with ringside doctors, including Nevada's chief ringside physician, casting doubt on the legitimacy of the tests. Some even suggested that the negative results weren't based on Morrison's own blood. His ongoing battle to clear his name left many questions unanswered, but it reflected the complicated and often tragic nature of his life. Tommy Morrison's story remains one of both extraordinary talent and extraordinary turmoil, with his personal and health struggles serving as a cautionary tale of how fame, fortune, and controversy can collide in unpredictable ways. About professional career. Tommy Morrison's professional boxing career was as action-packed as any Hollywood blockbuster, and fittingly, he even had a starring role in one. His journey began on November 10, 1988, when he announced his arrival with a stunning first-round knockout in New York City. Morrison's raw power and aggression were undeniable, and he quickly racked up 19 wins in 1989 alone, with 15 of them coming by knockout. His meteoric rise caught the eye of none other than Sylvester Stallone, who cast him as Tommy the Machine Gunn in Rocky V. Morrison put his boxing career on pause to film the movie, but his time on the big screen only added to his aura. In the ring, he quickly established himself as a fighter with lethal knockout power. In 1991, he notched key wins, including a victory over veteran James Tillis and former WBC Heavyweight Champion Pinklon Thomas. His biggest test came later that year when he faced fellow undefeated contender Ray Mercer for the WBO Heavyweight Title. Morrison dominated the early rounds, but the fight took a brutal turn in the fifth, when Mercer landed a vicious 15-punch combination, handing Morrison his first professional loss by knockout. Undeterred, Morrison continued to climb the ranks. In 1992, despite suffering a broken jaw and hand, he scored a gutsy ninth-round knockout over Joe Hipp. Then, in 1993, he secured one of his career-defining moments, a fight against boxing legend George Foreman for the WBO title. Instead of engaging in a slugfest, Morrison outboxed Foreman, staying on the outside and winning by unanimous decision. The victory crowned him as the WBO Heavyweight Champion. But Morrison's reign as champion was brief. After a strange title defense where his original opponent backed out last minute, forcing an unprepared Tim Tomaszek into the ring, Morrison set his sights on a potential mega fight with WBC champion Lennox Lewis. However, before that could happen, Morrison made the ill-fated decision to take a tune-up fight against Michael Bentt. In a shocking upset, Bentt knocked Morrison down 3 times in the first round, crushing Morrison's dreams of a $7.5 million payday against Lewis. He rebounded in 1995 with a dramatic victory over Ruddock, showcasing his resilience by coming from behind to win via TKO. This set the stage for a long-awaited fight with Lennox Lewis. The two heavyweights squared off later that year, but Lewis was too much for Morrison, who was knocked out in the 6th round. Then came the shocking news in 1996. Just hours before a scheduled bout, Morrison was diagnosed as HIV positive. He immediately announced his retirement, citing his reckless lifestyle as the likely cause. However, he later claimed that his diagnosis was a false positive and mounted a controversial comeback in 2007 after testing negative for HIV multiple times. He won 2 fights during this period, but his health and career were both in decline. Morrison also dabbled in mixed martial arts, MMA, winning a modified rules bout against a 340-pound opponent, but he never fully transitioned into the sport. By 2011, he retired for good after his last MMA fight. About later life. In the later years of his life, Morrison faced legal issues, multiple DUI convictions, and prison time, all while battling ongoing health problems. In 2013, Morrison's mother revealed that he had full-blown AIDS and was bedridden. On September 1, 2013, Morrison passed away from cardiac arrest caused by a severe infection. He was 44 years old. Despite the controversies and personal struggles, Tommy Morrison's legacy in boxing remains strong. Known for his devastating left hook, he was remembered by the World Boxing Organization for his exciting style and punching power. Pinklon Thomas, who fought both Mike Tyson and Morrison, once remarked that Morrison hit harder than Tyson. Today, Morrison is remembered as one of the best punchers of the past century, a fighter who brought electrifying energy to the heavyweight division in the 1990s. In 2023, his legacy lived on when he was added to the popular boxing video game Undisputed, immortalizing him in the sport he loved. Thanks for watching. For more thrilling boxing stories, check out our biography of Francis Ngannou and other legendary fighters. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more knockout content. Stay tuned for more epic boxing tales.